You've definitely heard of the alpha, right? The leader of the pack. And you've probably heard of the beta, the reliable follower. But what about the guy who doesn't even play that game? Today, we're diving into the whole archetype of the Sigma male, the lone wolf of our social landscape.
This quote, this right here, pretty much gets to the absolute heart of it. It's not about being rebellious just for the sake of it. No, it's about a fundamental choice to operate on a totally different set of rules. And that's the core idea we're really going to unpack.
So, to really understand the Sigma, we first have to figure out where he stands. And the answer is, well, it's nowhere you'd expect. He's on the outside, looking in, and choosing to walk a completely different path.
Okay, so here's our working definition. The keywords you really got to focus on are independence and self-reliance. You see, while most people are trying to find their place inside a social structure, a company, a friend group, the Sigma, he finds his strength by detaching from all that. He doesn't just find a world, he builds his own, and that takes a whole lot of discipline.
Now, this slide is where things get really interesting because it just lays it all out so clearly. The alpha, he thrives on being at the top. His goal is dominance. The beta, he finds his comfort inside the structure, looking for security and acceptance. But then you look at the Sigma, and he's completely off the board. His main goal isn't status, it isn't security, it's freedom. He's not even playing for the same prizes. Let's dig into the first core trait that really defines this archetype, valuing freedom over status. And this isn't just, a slight preference. For the Sigma male, it's his entire operating system. Just think about that for a second. We live in a world where people are constantly chasing promotions, titles, more followers, but the Sigma, he's chasing autonomy, the power to make his own choices on his own terms. That's more valuable to him than any fancy corner office or public award. But that pursuit often means he's got to trade that conventional security for absolute self-direction. And this shows you what that mindset actually looks like in real life. You might see him choosing to be a freelancer over having that stable corporate job, or just being totally unfazed by expensive cars and designer clothes. Every single decision gets filtered through one simple question. Does this make me more free, or does it tie me down to what other people expect of me? So if he isn't motivated by status or what people think of him, what in the world gets him out of bed in the morning? Well, that brings us to our second key trait, the inner drive. This all comes down to something called intrinsic motivation. The alpha might be fired up by the roar of a crowd, and the beta by a pat on the back from his boss. The Sigma, though, he's driven by a mission that comes from deep inside. He is his own judge and his own jury. The work itself is the reward. But that also means he has to shoulder the full weight of his own motivation without any external safety net. And, this is a pretty powerful question to ask yourself. When you accomplish something, what's the part that feels the best? Is it the congratulations you get from other people? Or is it that quiet satisfaction of knowing you met your own standard? There's no right or wrong answer here, but it definitely reveals a lot about how you're wired.
All right, this brings us to our third and final trait, and it's a big one that gets misunderstood all the time. Being alone, but not being lonely. People see the lone wolf and they just assume he must be lonely, but there's a huge, huge difference between those two things.
This slide just breaks it down perfectly. Loneliness is painful. It's an isolation that's forced on you. It's a feeling of lack. Solitude, on the other hand, is a deliberate choice. For the Sigma, being alone isn't draining at all. It's where he recharges, where he thinks, where he strategizes. It's a position of incredible strength. Okay, so let's bring all of this together and talk about the code of the wolf. We've seen that the Sigma operates outside the normal hierarchy, that he's driven by an internal compass and has this deep need for freedom. This isn't just a random collection of quirks. It's a whole code for living. When you boil it all down, the Sigma archetype is really built on these three core pillars. First, prioritize freedom. Value that autonomy above everything else. Second, cultivate that inner drive. Find your motivation from within, not from what others think. And third, embrace solitude. Use that time alone for your own growth and focus. That's the fundamental framework of the lone wolf. And all of that leaves us with one final question to chew on. In this super hyper-connected world that is always demanding we conform, could it be that the lone wolf, the one who walks his own path, is actually the new kind of leader we need for the future? It's definitely something to think about.